to Yahweh. Amawanga mwimu setobozi. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Once again, Derek Hudson coming your way from my home studio. How have you been? Okay, we have been seeing a number of points as we were covering a series of occupying, possessing your promise. And I know you have been blessed. I know if you have been blessed, please let me know. Contact me on my Facebook, contact me on my Instagram, just send me a message. Let's interact, let's share, let's encourage each other into God's business, and let's see our destinies shaping up and coming into fruition, and let's occupy the land God has promised us. I want to be quick because I want to use 2 points in this episode so that we wind up this month with our series, so that by the time we get into new month, we are running into something new and we are ready to run, fly, jump, possess, and enjoy what God has promised us. And today, remember, we are in 1 Kings chapter 22 from verse 1 to verse 3. And what we are talking about is that we can't be just living peacefully and living a rationed life, living with what has not been meant to be ours, and just sit, sleep, and rest. We need to go out for that which belongs to us and where we belong. If we are meant to operate on an international level, we are not going to allow to be satisfied with the local chantings, and we're not going to be allowed to be satisfied with that which has been given to us, so that we can give up on what we are meant to have. If God has called us to be in the United Nations, if God has called us to be in international organizations, if God has called us to minister to nations, we are not going to settle for the only audiences God has, people have platforms that have been set before us. We will go out and seek out that which belongs to us, and that is what I am trying to encourage us, that we need to go out and place platforms and go to places and speak to peoples that God has called us to speak to. And I am speaking to you because I know you're part of this generation, you're part of the world changers, you're part of the world agents of change, and you're part of those who are predestined to do good and to transform this world into a better place. And you are empowered, you are anointed, and I just want to encourage you to stand and move on and pursue your promise and go and be there. Now, let's read quickly in Judges chapter 3, and I'll let you know the point that I'm trying to bring towards and bring forward. The Bible says, chapter 3, now these are the nations that the Lord left to test Israel by them. That is, all in Israel who had not experienced all the wars in Canaan. It was only in order that the generations of the people of Israel might know war, to teach war to those who had not known it before. Now, when I talk about war, it's not about the war that are going out in places around killing people. No. That was the old time. But this time, the kind of war we are doing is spiritual warfare. This kind of war that we are doing is a war that gives us rightfully where we are supposed to be established. You go in the spiritual warfare and fight. You go and do the spiritual warfare is basically doing exactly what the enemy doesn't want you to do. If the enemy doesn't want you to progress, then you will start doing the progression. If the enemy doesn't want you to speak positive, then you speak positive. That is spiritual warfare. If the enemy doesn't want you to study, you will go and subscribe, and you will go and start studying. If the enemy doesn't want you to start a business, you will start a business. Spiritual warfare is doing exactly what is opposite of the enemy. And this is the point that I'm trying to bring out. God left these nations because he wanted to teach the children of Israel to make war. The point is, it is in the DNA of the children of God to be warriors. God has put in us a spirit that contends for what belongs to us. So you cannot suppress that spirit. You cannot suppress that DNA. You cannot suppress it because it is in you. You cannot rest not until you are where you belong, and you are not gonna rest. And I charge you right now to rise up and stand in your place. Just rise up and charge up yourself and go for what belongs to you. Declare it in the spirit, establish it in the spirit, claim it in the spirit, but do not only just confess. If you need to walk to the place, surround it like the children of Israel surrounded Jericho. If you need to touch it, if you need to picture it, if you need to get it into your spirit and claim it, you need to do it. Just you need to have to do something about it. So I wanted to bring out the point that as a children of God, it is in the DNA. We are predestined for war. We are not gonna rest not until we have gotten war. Oh yeah. For people who are enjoying their rest, they have had war. They have fought for it. They have earned it. And if you think you're resting, just know it is you are delaying your battles. You need to clear what is before you, so that you can enjoy what is rightfully belongs to you. Now listen to this. This is very important. If you do not want to go and contend the enemy, then you are submitting yourself as a slave. For anything that you fear, you're going to be a slave to it. For anyone that you fear, you've already determined yourself and you have already proven yourself to be a slave. You only serve that which you fear, and you will always serve anything that you are fearing. If you fear is going to make you a slave, and you will never inherit anything, because a slave does not own anything. I charge you to rise up and you go and confront your fears, and claim what belongs to you. Lastly, the point that I want to bring to you as we conclude this series of Occupy and Possess Your Promise is the promise that not everyone believes what God has said. Do you believe what God has promised you? Not everyone in the Bible has believed. When the prophet prophesied in Kings, and the lepers walked down to the camp of the enemies, there are people who never believed, and they never saw it coming to pass. So I want to let you know, not everyone is going to believe what God has said about you. Even when Joseph shared his dream, people never believed. The brothers never believed. So even if you say it, even if we share it, even if I share my dreams, my promises, people will say, you are dreaming. Yes, I'm dreaming, but it will come to pass. So I'm not going to wait for approval of man. I am waiting on God, who has promised, and he will accomplish that which he has promised. So I want to encourage you, and I want to summarize this. We said right away from the beginning that the first was that even if the one who is in our promise is mightier and powerful, that promise remains and belongs to us. The second was our enemies are aware of our promises even more than we are aware of them. So they don't want us to be aware. They keep us in our ignorance, so that we keep our lives in that kind of ignorance. The other point was that there is no ground that you will mount unless you have mounted no ground you will get unless you have mounted a confrontation. So I encourage you to move, take your steps, so that you can get what rightfully belongs to you. And the other one is that confrontation of your enemy does not depend on your strength. You don't have to look at the muscles. You don't have to look at how much energy you got. You need to know the kind of God who is behind you, the kind of God who goes before you, the kind of God who makes a way where there seems to be no way. And the other 3 points that we shared were that God does not take away our enemies unless we are willing to face them. We face our enemies, God will empower us, and we'll see our enemies being defeated. And lastly, not the least, that it is in the DNA of us, the children of God, to make war And he is the one who teaches us to make wars because he wants us to be victorious, and he wants us to attribute the victories unto him, the Lord of hosts. And lastly, not everyone is going to believe what you say. Not everyone is going to believe what God has promised you. You're going to believe it. You're going to move it. You're going to pursue it. Subscribe to this channel. Follow me on the Instagram, Derek Hudson Wamala. Both is Derek Hudson Wamala, and on my Facebook, Wama Derek. And let us chat. Let me know what you think. Let me know the victories you're up to, and let us chat. Remember, me and my work is to motivate you, to encourage you. Me, I'm a king maker. That's what God has called me to do, to encourage you, to stir you up, to go and pursue and become the king God has created you to be. God bless you. See you next time. Follow me, and we will share in the revelations God is giving to us. God bless you.